ओके ठीक है। तो सब सब एक सेकंड यहाँ आ जाओ, यहाँ लेके आ जाओ, वो पीछे का छुप जाए।
So they say some 1 minute.
There is no space here to keep it.
All this comes.
No? Will you start?
Jai Hind. Good morning to my friends from the media. I am Lieutenant General Asit Mistry, retired. I am presently the president of War Wounded Foundation, which is an NGO that looks after people who have been wounded in wars or operations. So, I will tell you a little bit about my organization, and then we can follow. To safeguard our country, our soldiers have made innumerable sacrifices, including the ultimate sacrifice of their life, as well as those being injured in wars and operations. On an average, as per the historical records, normally 3 times the number of soldiers are wounded in action as against those killed in action. और जो युद्ध में घायल होते हैं उनके लिए एक युद्ध तो खत्म हो गया, लेकिन एक जिंदगी भर लंबा एक संघर्ष, एक युद्ध, एक लड़ाई जारी रहती है। और ये लड़ाई ऐसी है जो न सिर्फ वो खुद अपने आप लड़ते हैं, बल्कि उनका जो परिवार है उसको भी उनके साथ मिलकर लड़ना पड़ता है। And this is a lifelong battle. It's a lifelong battle to overcome all the challenges that the life has thrown at them. So, it is incumbent upon the society to be worthy of their sacrifice, and therefore, we as civil society, because as veterans we are also part of the civil society today, we need to look after these people who have made such immeasurable sacrifice for our country, so that we are worthy of their sacrifice. Because they looked after the nation when they were at their strongest. And so now it is our duty to look after them when they are no longer that strong. So, to look after these people who've been wounded in wars or operations, this foundation, War Wounded Foundation of India, was set up in 2002 by 2 very prominent and distinguished war veterans who were themselves wounded in action. These were Lieutenant General Vijay Oberoi, the former Vice Chief of Indian Army, and since आप लोग मराठा सेंटर में बैठे हैं तो ये भी कहना लाजमी है कि वो मराठा रेजिमेंट के पुराने कर्नल ऑफ द रेजिमेंट भी रह चुके हैं, और 1965 की लड़ाई में उन्होंने एक पैर खोया था। एक पैर गंवाने के बावजूद वो इंडियन आर्मी के वाइस चीफ की पोजीशन तक पहुंचे थे, और उनके साथ दूसरे थे मेजर जनरल इयन कार्डोजो, who lost a leg in 1971 war, and he also went on to command an infantry division on the line of control. So these 2 very distinguished veterans set up the War Wounded Foundation as an NGO to look after the soldiers wounded in battle in 2002. And since then, this foundation has been performing a human service in looking after the soldiers who've been wounded in action. Now, we work in a number of fields and ways and means to assist these soldiers. The first and foremost approach is to try and get an alternate second career for these boys so that they continue to remain socially and economically useful, which is very important, first of all, for their own psychological rehabilitation, as also for the rehabilitation of their families. Second, we try and improve their mobility. So, depending on the kind of disability or limitations that they have, we provide them with mobility devices like modified scooters or modified auto rickshaws, which can help them run some small business, etc. We also help them in improving their skills, not only their own skills, but even their children. Because after all, this battle has to be faced by the family as a whole. Imagine a 25-year-old young soldier getting wounded and becoming paralyzed for life. Either he becomes a paraplegic, which is, paralyzed below the waist, or he could be quadriplegic, that means paralyzed below the neck. Imagine the impact on the family. So the family as a whole has to be looked after. We also help them to modify the toilets so that they have a dignified life. We also facilitate research and analysis in the problems of war wounded people. Towards this end, we have set up a chair of excellence in the United Services Institute of India, which is the oldest think tank of India, where jointly we fund projects to carry out research on the problems and opportunities for the war wounded soldiers. So we work in multiple fields, in multiple modes. We are completely an NGO, so we do not take anything from the government. We are completely funded by donations that we receive through the corporate houses, industry, trade, as well as individual donors. And in that sense, we try and reach out to these boys who require our assistance. With that as my introductory remarks, we are now ready to take on any questions from the friends from media.
So these rallies are very different places annually, or it is the only documented?
Now, let me first explain the concept and purpose of the rally. The rally is our means of carrying out an outreach to reach out to the maximum members of the War Wounded Foundation, or reach out maximum people who are wounded in action, so that we create their own community. They get a platform to firstly interact with each other, learn from each other, get inspiration from each other as to how each one of them in their own struggle have overcome the challenges, and thereby learn from each other. They share experiences. They share brotherhood. It also gives us a platform whereby we have talks by experts on various challenges that they face. We also try and get the people from the various departments of the government who deal with the welfare of ex-servicemen or wounded people, like the record offices, the pension, and so on. So some of those issues that are dealing with their entitlement, etc., can also be resolved. And the rallies are held not necessarily in the regimental center. Regimental center does help in terms of, because the regimental centers, one of the roles that is charted for them is to look after the welfare of the veterans. So it facilitates the process, but not necessarily. We have held rallies wherever there is a concentration of war wounded people. We have held earlier rallies in Pune. We have held rallies in Nagrota. We also held, Nagrota is in Jammu and Kashmir, as you must know. We also held a rally in Delhi. So there is no permanent fixed place or location where you can conduct the rallies. We can conduct rallies as and when there is a perceived need. But it's an attempt to increase our reach and enable the war wounded people to interact with each other. Thank you.
बट कई जगह पे अभी आप एनजीओ होके गवर्नमेंट को एक आग्रह कर सकते हैं कि अभी शहीदों को और वार वुंडेड पीपल को जो गवर्नमेंट ने अनाउंस किया रहता है वो उनको नहीं मिल रहा। ज्यादातर हम भी देखते हैं कि हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के सामने शहीदों के फैमिली आके प्रोटेस्ट करते रहते हैं और मांग करते रहते हैं। इसके लिए आप क्या भी एक क्रम ले सकते हो क्या?
पहली बात तो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से ऑलरेडी बहुत सारी स्कीम्स हैं, एंटाइटलमेंट्स हैं शहीदों के लिए भी और जो घायल हुए हैं। और सरकार की तरफ से, आर्म फोर्सेस की तरफ से, हर एक रेजिमेंटल सेंटर की तरफ से भी ये कोशिश रहती है कि बना हुआ है जिसके थ्रू, यूनिट के थ्रू, रेजिमेंटल सेंटर के थ्रू, रिकॉर्ड्स के थ्रू ये प्रॉब्लम्स को सुलझाया जा सकता है। लेकिन समझने वाली बात यह है कि ये सिपाही ऐसे हैं जो बिल्कुल युवा अवस्था में, जब अपनी फिजिकल कैपेबिलिटी की चरम सीमा पर है, 20-25 साल 30 साल की उम्र में, एंड दे आर इन अ प्रोफेशन which is so dominated by physical challenges. And from that position to become dependent on others, when they are serving actively, वो अपने परिवार के लिए एक आधार है, स्तंभ है, जिसके ऊपर पूरा परिवार उनके ऊपर निर्भर करता है. From that situation, that position to become a lifelong person to be supported by the family is a very, very severe psychological challenge, besides, of course, the physical challenge. So, therefore, there is a need for everyone to come together and look after them. सरकार तो करती है, लेकिन हमें भी एज अ सोसाइटी ऑल्सो वी नीड टू रीच आउट. दूसरा बात है कि इनकी जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, चुनौतियां हैं, वो समय के साथ साथ बदलती रहती है. जब वो घायल हुए तो 20-25 साल की उम्र है, 10 साल के बाद 35 साल उम्र हो गई. अभी हालात अलग है, उनके फिजिकल कैपेबिलिटीज अलग है, उनकी जो इंजरी है उसका मैनिफेस्टेशन अलग है. तो जैसे जैसे लाइफ आगे बढ़ती जाती है, उनकी ज़रूरियात और जो चैलेंजेस हैं वो भी तब्दील होती रहती है. बच्चे अगर छोटे हैं, वो अभी बड़े हो गए हैं, उनकी जिम्मेदारियां बढ़ गई, कल को बेटी बड़ी हो जाएगी, उसकी शादी करानी. तो there is a complete transformation also that is taking place, and new challenges are faced every day, and you have to keep finding solution to these new challenges, and therefore there is a need for active involvement of NGOs like us. Thank you.
Will they be covered with the foundation? Because now extras are almost all eligible for the recruitment in all the three armed forces. So will they get benefit of this?
Anybody who is wounded in operations or battle casualty, irrespective of his rank, origin, background, we will be taking care of them. It is just War Wounded Foundation. So, whether you are from the Army, Navy, Air Force, any of the services, whether you are Agniveer or you retire as full-fledged retirement and thereafter service you retire, anybody is eligible for assistance from War Wounded Foundation as long as you are wounded in action or you are a battle casualty. Well, I don't have any ready data of how many are there, because there are different wars. There are also those kind of operations which are not formally classified as war, but they are still operations. आप अगर युद्ध की बात करें तो फॉर्मल युद्ध में 1947 से आज तक पाकिस्तान के साथ 4 बार लड़ाई हुई है, एक बार चाइना के साथ। But that is not the only security challenge that the country faces or the armed forces have been confronted with. There are a lot of challenges. You have the active involvement on the line of control. अभी पिछले 4-5 साल से LAC पे चाइना के खिलाफ जो है वहाँ पे भी मुठभेड़ हुई है, जैसे गलवान में हुआ। इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी चैलेंजेस है, इवन ह्यूमैनिटेरियन रेस्क्यू मिशंस के लिए भी सोल्जर्स कभी सेक्रीफाइस देते हैं। So there are n number of reasons how people become casualties, and therefore we reach out to everyone. नहीं, एग्जैक्ट आंकड़ा मिलना बहुत मुश्किल है, क्योंकि ये एक ट्रांजिटरी फिगर भी होती रहती है ना, कि जैसे अभी पुराने युद्ध में लोग घायल हुए हैं, वो उनका फिर वो देहांत भी हो जाता है तो वो चले जाते हैं, लेकिन नए सिपाही और घायल होते रहो। उम्मीद तो होती है कि कोई घायल ना हो, कोई शहीद ना हो, लेकिन रियल वर्ल्ड में ये मुमकिन नहीं है। देयर आर सिक्योरिटी चैलेंजेस दैट द नेशन फेसेस, एंड सो अनफॉर्चुनेटली यू स्टिल हैव कैजुअलिटीज, बट देयर इज नो रेडीमेड फुल फ्लेज्ड फिगर दैट आई कैन गिव, बट एस्टिमेट इज दैट एट लीस्ट
How does the process happen?
it is a two-way process. We approach corporates, and there are a number of corporates who have seen our activities and have approached us. So there is no set way of raising funds. Like we are here in Belgaum, we are quite hopeful that through your assistance or friends in media, lot many more people in Belgaum and areas around Belgaum will get to know about our foundation, and people will come volunteer and donate money, and whatever kind of the tax benefits that the government extends for donation to NGO are eligible and applicable for War Wounded Foundation as well. So a lot of people, even, and these days corporates have got this CSR budget that they are mandated to spend. So even they are looking for reliable institutes, which will give them an assurance that their money would be wisely used. So we'll be getting enough funds.
It means there is no mediation session. No particular people to connect both the parties. There is no. In between the NGO and the corporate or individuals, there is no persons, people working.
No, there is no requirement of such persons. But there are people with good intentions who, they come to our office. Such activities. And it's a very informal process. For years, for over last 20-25 years that we've been in existence in 2002, have been consistently donating money to us. Godrej is one of them, which has been consistently giving every year. In fact, as one of our major activities is to also undertake adventure activities with the people wounded in wars. Basically, it is to overcome their mental challenges. So we, as a group, participate in the Tata Mumbai Marathon, which is conducted every year in January in Mumbai. So Godrej has been sponsoring our participation in Tata Mumbai Marathon, and besides giving part of their own CSR fund, their own employees during the Tata Mumbai Marathon undertake a fundraising activity within their own company as individuals and collect money on our behalf, and they support not only our NGO, they support 2 more NGOs. So, but there are lots of people who are wanting to come forward and donate money for a good cause. Thank you.
How many people are expecting to attend this rally?
We are expecting nearly 120 war wounded soldiers to attend this rally. On an average, in the past also in such rallies, we have been able to get at least 100 to 120 people. Some are from the areas nearby, but there are some inspiring stories from all over India. And since we are a pan-India organization, since the war wounded people are all over India. So we also get people from far-flung areas here for people to come and meet them and see how they are overcoming their challenges. So yes, we have our contacts, our email ID is there, our website is there. Plus, recently we have set up a helpline for assisting the war wounded people, particularly with the psychological counseling. Because while physical challenges is one part, but even psychological rehabilitation, not only for the soldiers but even their families, is a major requirement. And as we all know that in our country and all over the world probably, psychological challenges are not very easily accepted by people. They are a little shy of accepting that there is a need for assistance. So to facilitate this process, to keep their anonymity, we have set up a helpline whereby we can have a contact established between a psychological counselor and the war wounded soldier or his family. Thank you. Yeah. More questions? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Jai Hind.